Hey everyone, this is Tappers here again, and welcome back to the Kirby's Dreamland 2 Let's Play. We went through Red Canyon and got the somewhat not really hard rainbow drop, and now we're going to Cloudy Park, which is not bubbly clouds anymore. And very amusing little comedic short there where we see Ko drag both Kirby out of the clouds, and it was Kine all along. That was the mysterious eyeball thing. Cloudy Park is kind of interesting. I consider this probably the longest world in the game, even longer than the last world, which is coming up next. I won't spoil what it is, but it's kind of interesting to a sense, but also has some things that I do kind of need to rant about. Also, interesting thing there, that Poppy Rose Jr. was riding on top of a Max Tomato, and if you try to attack him, it'll destroy the tomato instead of the Poppy Bros, even if you aim directly for him. You have to instead inhale him so that the Max Tomato stops doing whatever it is. And yeah. Also, one thing I should note is that Cloudy Park has some set pieces that look kind of familiar in certain other games. Like, I want to say that those weird totem, tower, poles, wooden, whatever you want to call them, they look like they're also in Kirby 64 in a sense. And actually, I should kind of get on topic of something. The stage names or the world names in this game, they actually carry over into Kirby's Dreamland 3. Well, almost all of them. The only one that does not carry over is Big Forest and World 7, which is next. Pretty much all of them you will be seeing, although they're in a different order. Grasslands is first, and then the next one is like Ripple Field, and then like the 5th world is actually Iceberg, which was the 4th world here. And Cloudy Park is like 4 or something like that, but I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. What I'm doing here is I'm trying to see if I can get, what was it? I was trying to see if I could get Kine. Yeah, I definitely want Kine for this part, which is pretty much a ton of bottomless pits. But it'll be really evident why in a little bit here. But instead, we'll just settle with having Kirby with the Paracel power, which we haven't really used a whole lot except with Ko in combination. But it also does allow us to travel up these air vents and also have some really BS enemy placement, which you can't really know unless you're aware. I mean, there's one that just clearly you aren't going to avoid a Gordo that's directly in your path. I mean, seriously. And also the best minigame attempt I've had in forever, because I just basically cleared it with the best timing imaginable. Now, here you might be wondering, why are you going back to the previous world? Did you forget something? Well, we're going to ignore the fact that the boss door is open, and instead go into the water, where we do meet Masher right there. He just throws his mace ball, and we kill him, and we get Kine. Sorry about that. Kind of had a little tickle of the throat there. It's also a shame I didn't actually use the Paracel power, and I don't think it's particularly good for Kine, but we need him going into 6-2 because, well, this is where the rainbow drop is, actually. And in order to get it, we have kind of a complex and convoluted sequence here. We need the ice power in order to actually progress through the stage. There's no two ways about it, as we meet all the knights that say knee and have their own special weapons. It's the weapon triangle, don't you know? I mean, there's a sword beating the axe of Butch, and then you have the axe beating the mace, which is not the lance, as it should be in Fire Emblem logic. There's a series that I haven't really talked much about, but one that I really do enjoy, and would have to find a way to do commentary post on that one, because that's going to be difficult in itself. You need Kine in order to reach this area with the spark power, because you're not going to get it any other way. But it doesn't end there, as we just wait for Master Green to attack, not with Thunderbolts, Thunder Shock, Thunder Wave. in every attack that he uses. I think he almost spent a good 30 seconds not doing anything, and then we just have to be careful of the ground spark. I don't know what to call it, but it's probably a Mega Man X attack that I can't think of. Also, we got another pink chew, or blob, whatever you want to call it. Kind of not what I was expecting, but hey, I mean, if it gives us an extra percentage, which it doesn't, that's fine in my book. But we need the spark power up in order to do the next step, which is to try and go downward, but we can't because my controls with Kind are not very good, so we have to go this way now. I mean, one attempt I completely forgot to do this, and then I was like, oh crap, I can't get it. But we have Blocky here, and this is kind of where, if you're a first-time player, this can kind of be a jerk move, because you'd be thinking, oh, we're fighting Blocky? Well, we need the stone power, don't we? No, in actuality, we just need to get the animal buddy that is trapped right up there. And, well, may as well mention who it is as we finish off Blocky. Yeah, we need Rick for a whopping 10 seconds, because the exit is right here as Wild D chases us down to No Avail. We need to destroy these blocks in order to get an animal buddy there, because apparently cannons are totally destroyable, which they aren't, as we get Ku. Now we need him in order to get over this way. We don't need the spark power anymore, but we do need Cutter, since there's no... And yeah, that ninja just pulled a jerk move by disappearing right before I was able to hit him with a double star. Also, I never mentioned this weird fire star move that he does, but you can't do anything with that. It's just meant to scorch Kirby and other really terrible things. But yeah, we got the Cutter ability. Now we have to be really careful, because our destination is filled with Gordos in a way, and, well, you don't want to lose your power-up in windy conditions, because you may not be able to get to recover it. But since we're right here, enter the cave, get rid of these slots, and we've got our 6th rainbow drop. With only one left, technically. Spoiler, there's one more world, but you kind of already knew that. But yeah, that's kind of one of the more convoluted and complicated ones, but I'm not too broken up about it, considering, well, actually there's another one that's a little tougher. Well, I wouldn't even say tougher, more equally as convoluted. But this is also a part of the playthrough where, now I did some practicing before this, and in actuality, the furthest I practiced to was 6-2, which we just completed. Going into these stages, I don't think I really practiced, so if I play particularly poorly or slow, it's because I didn't exactly get myself as ready as I should have, but I did enough considering, well, I didn't exactly practice World 7 because there was kind of no point. Speaking of no point, I didn't exactly have to kill those Sir Slippys or Slippy the Frogs, who aren't annoying at all. But this area is kind of memorable to me in a way, although it can be really slow depending on how you do this. What I should have done was grab the burning power, but I didn't. Instead, I just went with Spark, and I'm like, oh, I could probably get through this area quickly, except I clearly can't because, well, the winds just take you all over the place somehow, even though the directionals are kind of screwed up and segmented by tunnels. But I mean, it does make sense in a way, except not really, but it's not too bad. I mean, you can toy around with power-ups. I don't remember if ice was one of them, but yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. Now, this area is kind of a jerk area because you have a bunch of clouds that you have to kind of just go through in order to descend. But then you have stupid things like mummy balls everywhere, and then you have a bunch of cross-up cloud blocks and the regular star blocks. And then of course your progression all depends on like which path do you take. Naturally, I take one that doesn't take too long. I mean, I could have probably taken the other one, but I didn't because mummy balls suck, especially when you don't have a power to easily go through it. That's what happens when you try to fight a Gordo when you have literally no hope at all. But we're halfway through Cloudy Park, but now we have some really big annoyances in the form of the eels and some more mummy balls. But actually, we also have, now I've gotten this name wrong earlier, but those Moheds are called Kaboo, and they're a character that you need to worship and all that, kind of like the Helix Fossil, except I kind of don't because I pick the Dome Fossil. Unpopular opinion, away, except it doesn't really matter because nobody uses the fossil Pokemon in Gen 1. But yeah, we now have another appearance of Captain Patch. And one thing that I should probably mention about this game is that there's kind of an imbalance in the mini-boss department. By that I mean certain ones you face more than others, it seems. Like Sir Stitch we didn't start meeting until the last area, but Mr. Frosty, we've only seen him once, and we will only see him one more time. Yet Sir Stitch, or Captain Stitch, we'll see one more time. So that accounts for 3. You have the ninja that probably appears 3 times, and then some of the others could be 4 actually, I don't know. But one jerk thing about that area is that the animal buddy you get from defeating Stitch is random, so you have to kind of be careful and aware because you kind of don't want Rick when you're underwater or whatever because he doesn't do all that well. I mean, you would still be okay if you had what was his name? Ko, because he can sort of move, but his attacks are kind of horrid and what's it called? Underwater. I don't even remember, but yeah, we have some 1-ups. Fortunately, you can't get those unless you have the stone ability that you got from one of the auto-scrolling rooms going diagonally. Doesn't matter. I have 23 lives, so we can easily kind of go through that. But now we have sort of a section I want to say was in the original Kirby's Dream Land. And this is sort of where I start to play kind of crappily, because you have these Gordos that are in really bad positions for you to get around them unless you duck. But then again, ducking is kind of something you don't want to be doing in a maze filled with cloud blocks that crumble underneath you. And this is also a case where I decide to use the needle power, which for a second there it looked like it cancel out, what's it called? God, sorry, I'm just like completely blanking right now. And I mean, Cloudy Park is interesting to a degree with not having levels that look necessarily the same. I mean, it is specifically a cloud theme compared to Red Canyon, which was a combination of part canyon and part grassland, which there was already a grassland, though I will say that it didn't have as many canyon levels compared to other tropes or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, that's kind of a very long section, and it's made worse by having a wind section, which I almost died in because, well, I wanted to avoid the wind currents, especially when you have Gordos that are pretty much nestled in the bottom, where you'll probably sometimes get hit, except not really. But yeah, this is an area where you really would rather to have Ko than anybody else. I mean, Rick wouldn't be too bad in this section, but you don't want to be standing still or having attacks that make you stand still. But speaking sort of a standstill, we have kind of like a little bonus area near the end where we have a bunch of rooms where these are set as far as what's in there. That farthest room was the mummy balls. This one has the stupid propellers, which I almost died to. And as far as the other rooms, one of them is an exit, which so happens to be this. The other ones I want to say were 1-ups or health drinks or stars. I don't really remember because I didn't exactly go back, but it doesn't really matter since, well, you'll probably accumulate a decent number of lives. But yeah, now we're actually at the last stage of Cloudy Park, and the only thing in our way is fighting against Master Green yet again. This one is kind of a bit tougher to deal with because I was expecting to get blown away by the clouds, and he jumped that with perfect timing, but he can't stop that one. So we got rid of Spark to get rid of Spark. And by doing so, you get, I think, a random partner, and in this case, we get Rick. Or actually, no, I think we get Rick no matter what. But it's really good to have him in this section, especially since he can hit anything that's in front of him, both from up to down. Except I should have said up and down and all around, but he doesn't exactly have the ice power, which covers a wide spread. Could have also grabbed the stone power-up, but I decided not to because, I mean, maybe less likely that I fall into a pit, but that's not entirely true. And if I also didn't mention, his spark range is completely pathetic underwater. And yeah, rip that power because I got hit by the stupid frog or propeller, or I'm sorry, scuba fish, but I'm at least pretty sure you are specifically given Rick in this area, but I mean, they could also have given you Ko or Kind, but it doesn't really matter because Kirby's fine enough as it is underwater. Unless he loses the power and then he's just reduced to a squirt gun, water gun. Because it's super effective in the sky, but except it's not really, so we just kind of need to move on through this maze. And knowing me, I probably took the longest path, or I mean, amount of time finding it, but I think here is where I kind of figure out where I'm going and actually find the door, where we get sent up through a current and we just need to avoid all the enemies possible. But it's actually really easy. You just stay in the middle and you'll hit the 1-up and a bunch of other things. So yeah, that was pretty much Cloudy Park. It was, I guess you could say it's relatively difficult, but at the same time it's not too difficult, especially if you're using Ku, but I don't think I even used him, so well, okay, I used him in 6-2, but it doesn't really matter. So now we have the boss at the end, and you would be expecting Croco, but instead we have, well, it's kind of weird, because it's Mini Croco, I would say. He kind of plays like the Mini Croco from the first game, where he has the ball form, but in order to hurt him, you have to grab either his explosives or the Mini Croco clouds and then hit him when he pops up. Now, he is random. Sometimes he can just hit you like an unexpected pimple. No, I shouldn't say that because that's kind of nasty. But yeah, that's the end of Croco. Oh no, his eye is smoking. It's a smoking gun, except it's not really. But now we fight the real Croco, who is about the same size as before, but now he's a little more threatening and mobile than he was in his attacks, because he will float around randomly in a way, and then sometimes he'll park himself in the middle, and then he'll shoot his thunder shock at you from specific degrees. But if you kind of already know what to expect and you also stay in the corners, he can't exactly hit you in some senses. Except, well, if he's closer to one end, he'll actually hit you in the corner. Otherwise, he won't hit you in the opposite corner. However, if you're in the middle, he can actually hit you in the corner. So yeah, that's kind of a moot point because, well, yeah. Originally, I wanted to say this was a time-consuming Crackle battle, except it really isn't. He's kind of decent, not too hard, actually. And, yeah, so that's actually 6 worlds down, and with Cloudy Park done, the next time we meet, we will actually be going to the final world of the game. This is Dark Castle. So this has been Tapras, and I'll see you again next time.